Come in, come away in. Ah, how good to see you. You find me at home this time, briefly. Yes, don't trip over the briefcase. Yeah, I think last time we met, you tracked me down at the library of the King's School in Ely at the Porter, reading a bit of Blake for you. But we're back at home, and as you see, I've got out a churchwarden, which means I'm going to enjoy some Tolkien, which is the one Phil Kagi gave me. Now, here's the thing. I was wanting to read you a highly significant moment in The Hobbit, the opening of the chapter, Riddles in the Dark. I couldn't find my nice old hardback. I have got a new paperback, which is fine. But while I was looking for it, I found this, which I bought in the Bodleian Library in Oxford when I went to see an exhibition called Tolkien Treasures. And the exhibition was a lot of Tolkien's original art, going right back early to his father Christmas letters, and also photos. Absolutely wonderful. What a poignant photo this is. Tolkien, of course, in the window there with his pipe. But this was taken in 1914. Think of all those young men, that golden generation, all their future before them, young men at Oxford, all going to go out to the absolute hell on earth of the front. I see that chap's got a pipe in his hand as well, the Western Front. There's Tolkien as a soldier, of course, but it also had, wonderfully, the illustrations he did for The Hobbit, which we had in the book we had as a child, so I remember that on the cover. I remember this glorious, here's a lovely close-up of the hill at Hobbiton with all the hobbit holes. And then in a completely different style, I remember being very attracted by this as a child. This is black and white drawing of the trolls. And there, of course, is Rivendell. So it was wonderful to see these as they really are, from Tolkien's hand, and be that close in that sense to it all. Anyway, let's just savour the opening of Chapter 5. Chapter 5, in fact, these two chapters, the whole first encounter with the goblins, is where you really begin to get the sense of darkness, both literally and in other senses, in the story. So here we are, the opening of Chapter 5, Riddles in the Dark. When Bilbo opened his eyes, he wondered if he had, for it was just as dark as with them shut. No one was anywhere near him. Just imagine his fright. He could hear, you may remember, of course, that in the end of the last chapter, they'd all been fleeing along, and poor old Beaufort, or one of the others, had got built at the end of the line of running dwarves, had Bilbo on his shoulders, and then suddenly they're ambushed by goblins, and in the struggle, Bilbo is flung off Dory's shoulders and knocks his head and falls unconscious and is fortunately overlooked by everybody. Well, fortunately overlooked by the goblins, anyway. No one was anywhere near him. Just imagine his fright. He could hear nothing, see nothing. He could feel nothing except the stone of the floor. Very slowly he got up and groped about on all fours till he touched the wall of the tunnel, but neither up nor down it could he find anything. Nothing at all. No sign of goblins, no sign of dwarves. His head was swimming, and he was far from certain even the direction they had been going in when he had had his fall. He guessed as well as he could and crawled along for a good way till suddenly his hand met what felt like a tiny ring of cold metal lying on the floor of the tunnel. It was a turning point in his career, but he did not know it. There's a wonderful piece of English understatement for you. Because, of course, we now know when we reread The Hobbit after reading The Lord of the Rings, that it was a turning point not just for The Hobbit, but for the entire age, for wizards and elves and men and dwarves. But there we go. It was a turning point in his career, but he did not know it. He put the ring in his pocket, almost without thinking. Certainly it did not seem of any particular use at the moment. He did not go much further, but sat down on the cold floor and gave himself up to complete miserableness for a long while. I remember reading that and feeling complete empathy with Bilbo. And I now think as I read it, this isn't just a book for children, it's by somebody who still remembers what it was like to be a child. One had such extreme highs and lows, I think, as a child. And I can remember exactly that, giving myself, I've been sent to my room, doubtless for some good reason, but I would sit in my room and give myself up to complete miserableness. And then, of course, comes this lovely line. He thought of himself frying bacon and eggs in his own kitchen at home. For he could feel inside that it was high time for some meal or other, but that only made him miserabler. Wonderful. I remember being told by grown-ups you shouldn't say miserabler, you should say more miserable, but here was a proper author doing it, so I thought I could too. He could not think what to do, nor could he think what had happened, or why he had been left behind, or why, if he had been left behind, the goblins had not caught him, or even why his head was so sore. The truth was that he had been lying quiet, out of sight, out of mind, in a very dark corner for a long while. After some time, he felt for his pipe. Of course he did. It was not broken. That was something. Then he felt for his pouch, and there was some tobacco in it. That was something more. Then he felt for matches, and he could not find any at all, and that shattered his hopes completely. Just as well for him as he agreed when he came to his senses. Goodness knows what the striking of matches and the smell of tobacco would have brought out of the dark holes in that horrible place. Still, at the moment, he felt very crushed. But in slapping all his pockets and feeling all around himself for matches, his hand came upon the hilt of his little sword, the little dagger that he had got from the trolls and that he had quite forgotten. Nor, fortunately, had the goblins noticed it, as he wore it inside his breeches. Now he drew it out. It shone pale and dim before his eyes. So it's an elvish blade too, he thought, and goblins are not very near, and yet not far enough. You remember the elvish blades glow in the presence of orcs. But somehow he was comforted. It was rather splendid to be wearing a blade made in Gondolin for the Goblin Wars, of which so many songs had sung. And also, he had noticed that such weapons made a great impression on goblins that came up on them suddenly. Just amazing. We've got this, he's worrying about matches and tobacco and thinking about fried eggs. And then a paragraph later, we suddenly have this immense backstory in the Goblin Wars of Gondolin, in a previous age, and the elven blade and this heroic sword, as it were, that's been passed on to him. And that's just the mix that makes The Hobbit itself such a wonderful book. Anybody can write a story of, great fiery dragons and goblin halls. But the idea of bringing a kind of comfortable middle-aged, Englishman who likes fried eggs and a pipe in the morning into the middle of it is absolutely wonderful. They made a great impression on the goblins that came upon them suddenly. Then this is a very fine paragraph. Go back, he thought. No good at all. Go sideways, impossible. Go forward, only thing to do. On we go. So he got up and trotted along with his little sword held in front of him and one hand feeling the wall and his heart all of a pitter-patter. Again, it's just wonderful. You're in an absolute hole, literally. You're in a terrible place. But there's something in you that has a courage you scarcely knew. And then there's this wonderful, it's almost sort of like a logician, sitting calmly and rationally in the midst of so many fears and so much darkness, working out the possibilities. Go back? Well, there's only three things you can do. Back, sideways, or forwards. Well, back, no good at all. Sideways, impossible. Ergo, logically, go forward. Only thing to do. On we go. On we go is one of those phrases that you have to keep calling on in your own life. You do not, things are difficult and you're not quite sure what the future's going to hold, but, you can't go back in time. You've got your place in your calling. You can't dodge sideways, so on you go. We soldier on. And maybe one begins to learn a bit of both of that logic and that courage at a very early age, almost without realising it, in wonderful books like this. So anyway, nice to see you. If you're to catch up with me at all in the coming weeks, it'll be in odd corners of America and Canada, but I hope we'll both have the ingenuity to do that. So nice to see you for now.